We all know that Sony has been sort of hamming it up with their reliance on Call of Duty and what they say would be a very negative impact if Xbox were to make it exclusive. We also know that Microsoft has said they have no plans to make it exclusive and actually seem to be wanting to expand the Call of Duty franchise if the Activision Blizzard deal goes through. Now, Derek Strickland brought up some stuff from the Phase 1 responses that sort of made me think about just how big the impact would be on Sony should they lose access to this title. Let's dive into what he dug up right now. So the long and the short of it is Sony relies a lot on Call of Duty, and Derek Strickland brought up these Phase 1 responses where he says Sony makes an interesting claim that third-party franchises like Call of Duty inadvertently help fund first-party games development, implying that without hits like COD, Sony may not be able to serve up high-profile first-party games. So they talk about losing access. They say this would, in turn, also reduce the potential return on producing innovative first-party games, thereby diminishing SIE's ability and incentive to invest in new games. Now, the problem with that argument is Sony's posting record-breaking profits, even with a constrained hardware release schedule over the last few years. God of War Ragnarok managed to sell, I think it was 20 million copies was the last report. We know third-party titles like Hogwarts did very, very well across the board. I think they're at 12 million. And then what was the other title? Sons of the Forest is selling like crazy. That one might be PC only, so I apologize if that one's not on console. But with Hogwarts as an example, you can see third-party titles do drive a lot of revenue to consoles, and it seems like Sony uses that revenue to fund their first-party games. My argument would be that you're not losing access to that game, and Sony has a 10-year contract, or Microsoft has a 10-year contract in their hands, so the argument's sort of moot. And B, Derek, as Strickland points out, we have to wonder just how much money Sony makes from Call of Duty alone, but the argument could be made that any game sold on PlayStation Store could technically help fund first-party titles. Then again, not every franchise sells 25 million copies in 1 year. Call of Duty is a very special title, as the regulators have pointed out, for the games industry, just like Minecraft was. And Microsoft has no plans to make Minecraft exclusive, just like they have no plans to make Call of Duty exclusive. You know, there were concerns about Minecraft when that deal went through, but then the titles that ended up being exclusive for a little bit was Minecraft Dungeons, which I believe is now on everything. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments. Or it's at least on other platforms. And then Minecraft Legends is a new one, which will be temporary exclusive maybe. But anyway, the point is the main Minecraft franchise did not go exclusive because that would be detrimental to the communities associated with it. Separately, though, in addition to all of that, Itis over on Reset Era posted some of his thoughts about the provisional findings, and I highlighted some of the more interesting stuff. Before we dive into that, though, please consider hitting that subscribe button, hitting that bell. If you're one of the 50% of people who are not subscribed, I hate it when I get these little fuzzies on my microphone sometimes. Anyway, if you're one of the 50% of people who aren't subscribed, please help me hit my goal of hitting 100,000 subscribers. Doing these little promos in the middle of the video, we're at 99,000 right now, so we are in the last 1,000. Seriously, if everybody subscribed this episode, we'd hit the goal now, basically. So thank you so much. Let's get back into this. So I just posted all these provisional findings, and then my highlights were deleted. So we're going to look at a bit of a different view today. Some of the interesting stuff he highlighted included that some third parties believe that consoles are moving away from the 8 to 10 year static cycle and getting closer to PCs with upgrades every 3 to 4 years. That's on page 54 if you want to read along at home. As in the case of mobile above, internal documents and third-party reports submitted that parties also consider PC and consoles. Anyway, where owners upgrade a new machine every 3 to 4 years later on is an important note. Are we moving away from the traditional 8 to 10 year console cycle? I think what's actually going to start to happen is that every 3 to 4 years we get Xbox, then we get Xbox Pro, for example, and PlayStation Pro, after 5 years have gone by. And then we get that for 5 more years, and then we move to the next console cycle. And that entire SKU will be supported. And as we've seen with Xbox, they actually support all the way back to the original Xbox via the cloud. And that's not talked about very often. I believe Microsoft Flight Simulator works on that base console. A lot of people have written off cloud, but some people think that NVIDIA might have actually solved that latency issue. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens. Continuing on. Huge releases make game time fall on other games. So kind of obvious, like if you're playing the new game, you're going to be playing less of Halo Infinite, for example. So we know that redacted percent of their total game time on Halo Infinite in the month following release reduced. The shooter genre is a significant share of the publishing market. Shooters account for 40% of PlayStation's playtime globally, page 71. As context, oh yeah, and that's supposed to be redacted. So shooters account for 40% of PlayStation's playtime globally, which is really, really interesting. Crossplay increases game time share of Xbox games. Microsoft submitted an increasing number of games that have crossplay functionality, which mean that network effects operate at the market level rather than the platform level, and publishers have an increased incentive to publish on multiple consoles. Evidence submitted by Microsoft showed that the game time share of Xbox top 20 games with crossplay available as an option was redacted percent in 2021, up from redacted in 2020. So having crossplay in titles increases game time. And you have to remember, Sony blocked that for years. Microsoft was all good with it. Sony was blocking it, and then they knocked that off. And now we have, Destiny, where PlayStation and Xbox users can play together and PlayStation and PC users can play together. And I hope that continues into the future. I hope ESO finally figures that out. I don't know why it hasn't happened yet. Anyway, the cost of porting a game across consoles is not too high. Therefore, publishers in general are not in favor of making games exclusive to a platform. I find that interesting that the cost for porting something isn't that high, especially when we keep seeing these stories where people blame the Series S for like holding back games. I think if you've played on PC, you know that you can just push and pull sort of the levers in the back end and make it work for your rig optimally. You can even run a benchmarking tool, and it will often just say, okay, you want your rig to be set at these settings. So I don't think it's as difficult for development on the Series S as people make out, but I would have to dive into that a little bit more. So if you've heard, besides, I've seen one story where a developer said something about the Series S, and then I think he ended up backtracking it later. And then there's the Baldur's Gate 3 thing where everybody was up in a roar after the PlayStation State of Play. And then it turns out, they're working on it actually. So anyway, continuing on. Sony overstates the importance of COD, but players that spend a significant amount of time playing COD accounted for a substantial portion of revenue across PlayStation's business. However, we consider that SIE's estimate overstates COD's importance. The figure above includes spend of every user who played COD, regardless of time spent on it. We consider that it would be more relevant to assess the importance of COD by reference to users' engagement with COD and the proportion of overall spend on PlayStation. And you know what's going to happen? We're probably going to get that data when the FTC subpoenas go through, and Sony has to provide those documents. The CMA provides redacted data of gamers that spend more than 80%, 50% and 20% of their time on COD, plus total spend and gameplay time. Therefore, we consider the evidence above shows that customers that spend a significant amount of time playing COD accounted for a substantial portion of revenue across PlayStation's business, including customers spending on other games, hardware, and subscription on PlayStation. These customers also accounted for a significant fraction of total gameplay time on PlayStation across all games. But they do say that Sony has overstated the importance of COD, which I think we all knew that. Check this out, though. How powerful is COD for the gaming industry? Making COD exclusive to Battle.net allowed Activision Blizzard to compete with Steam. Notwithstanding the above, making COD exclusive to Battle.net allowed Activision to compete with Steam by offering fewer than 10 games, while Steam offered 8,000 games in 2018. The fact shows the strength of the Activision portfolio, particularly COD. Now, they kind of shoot themselves in the foot because we also know that Activision Blizzard titles like COD are played less on PC. I believe that's in this report. And I think they're leaving out some very important games on that list. So those 10 games include games like StarCraft, World of Warcraft. Some of their most popular titles like Diablo are on that list. Overwatch are on that list. So yes, Call of Duty is very important, but I would argue that Warzone probably drove a lot of that traffic, allowing them to compete. But yeah, the Activision Blizzard library consists of some of the biggest, best games ever. And the focus on COD is honestly to the detriment of a lot of these arguments. Anyway, continuing on. If I didn't do the promo yet, did I forget to do the promo? If you've watched this far, please consider hitting that subscribe button, hitting that bell to know when my content goes live. Half of you aren't subscribed. I'm very close to 1,000 goal. So hit that subscribe button, hit that bell, and we can hit it today. Thanks for watching. Let's finish this out really quick. Activision has special revenue share arguments with Sony and Microsoft, meaning they make more money. This suggests the Xbox and PlayStation are willing to make a more attractive offer to COD in order to attract it to their platform. Microsoft is already discussing plans for next generation consoles, and cloud gaming is a part of it. 2 documents dated September 2022 and November 2022 discussing plans for the next generation consoles show that redacted. One slide describes redacted. Another slide discusses, okay, well, whatever. They're making a next-gen console. The average price for licensing a AAA game for a cloud gaming service is $10 million, just an interesting fact. And some third parties believe that consoles are moving away from the 8 to 10 year static cycle and getting closer to PC with upgrades every 3 to 4 years. We kind of covered off on that earlier. And then just a real quick note, because I got to get out of here this morning. It looks like China is going to approve the deal, and basically no one's going to veto this deal in China. They feel like it is going to go through even with the complaints, but it's being slowed down by a few complaints. That will probably be a separate story. I have to go, but thank you so much for watching. Hit that subscribe button, hit that bell to know when my content goes live. I really appreciate everybody who watches this far. And if everybody who wasn't subscribed, and half of you aren't, hit subscribe right now. I would hit that goal of 100,000 today. We're at like 99,000 right now. Thank you for helping me get there. Thank you to the members. My buttons aren't working. Thank you to the members for supporting this channel. I really appreciate you. If you want to become a member, hit that join button. I really got to go because the kiddo has a doctor's appointment today. So thank you for watching. Check out this video from yesterday where I talk about why I think Avowed is going to be huge for Xbox. I'm going to get out of here. Bye for now, everybody.